Hi, welcome to Trauma Informed Yoga. This video is on how we can communicate with nonviolent ways, and as a parent it can be very challenging to communicate in nonverbal ways when we're asking our children to do something and they're refusing, or when kids are super wild and crazy and we're trying to get them calmed down, or whatever it is that we're trying to communicate. It seems like it's ingrained in us that we want things to be communicated right then and there, instead of trying to work through things and work through them with a sense of calmness and a sense of calmness and direction in a non-violent way, because our communication can be just as violent as it is when we hit someone or whatever else it is that's causing harm to someone. When we have trauma, we all have trauma, but when something traumatic has happened to us, we store that into our brain, just like how a computer stores new programming. When something traumatic happens to us, we store that programming up in our brain, and we remember traumatic experiences more than positive experiences, because when something traumatic happens to us, it causes us to go into fight or flight, into our frontal lobe. And when that happens, adrenaline comes into our body, and that prepares us to either fight or flight. The more adrenaline that gets put into our bodies when the experience happens, the more we're going to remember that experience. If too much adrenaline is put into our body, then our frontal lobe can't even go there and we block it out. So people with a really traumatic experience, or even childhood, like I can't remember a lot of my childhood for whoever, I don't know why, but I must have just been in adrenaline a lot. And that's quite common. And so we as parents want to try our best to make it so our kids aren't in that adrenaline fight mode, because when our kids are in that adrenaline fight mode, we actually are causing trauma on anyone's brain. It can even be our spouse's brain or whatever. Currently, I am working on trying to communicate nonviolently with my husband, because it seems like I can get into that really stern mode with him quicker than anyone else. And so as a parent of 2 children, I know how hard it is to try to stay in that nonviolent language. And so I try to meditate each morning before I get up. I try to meditate on nonviolent communication, how I'm going to speak to the girls, what I'm going to do. The more I think about that right in the morning, then the more likely I'm going to do that when something comes up. And when I get in that mode of speaking to them in that way of, the strict and sternness instead of a nonviolent way, I try quickly to apologize and tell them that I'm working on things to better myself, because I think it's so important for kids to see us as parents and adults that we have to work on things too, because I think that if our youth sees us not being perfect and thinking that we have it all together, I think the more likely they are to also put in the effort. So it's good for kids to also see that we are trying and working. So nonviolent language would be where we are saying what we need, so what I need personally, and how what that person is doing, I state how I feel. And then as a parent, if I'm still not getting what I want out of, say cleaning up, then I'm going to tell them what the punishment is, and I don't have to yell about it. I can just sternly say what the punishment is, or like in our household, we say what maybe privilege is going to be taken away. And then instead of battling out, because a kid's maybe going to throw a fit or have a tantrum, instead of trying to over yell at that person, just simply walk away or just let them have the tantrum. You could just, sometimes I just sit there, let them have the tantrum. And then once that person is calm, then we can ask, are you ready to try again? Another thing that I also do is once a privilege is taken away, I allow the time and space for the kids to earn back maybe or try again whatever it is that they are trying to maybe work for. So this is Isa, and I'm going to ask, Isa, I need you to pick up those books on the floor. Oh, and see, now Isa's not wanting to pick up the books on the floor. So now I'm going to use nonviolent communication to help Isa work through picking up the books on the floor. Isa, I need you to pick up those books on the floor. Isa, I feel when you are ignoring me, I feel very disrespected and I feel frustrated right now. I'm going to ask you one more time to pick those books up on the floor, Isa. And if the books don't get picked up, then I'm going to have to take the iPad away for tonight, okay? Thank you, Isa. And so then, you know, instead of, one thing that I try to do is instead of then holding that resentment of, oh, why don't they just listen to me the first time? Breathe. I try to use my yoga skills, and then once they do it, good job, and on we go. So that's just one way of nonviolent communication. Another thing, like for my husband and I state something that I need. So say that I've had a really crazy busy day with the girls and he comes home from work. I try to say, Eric, I need 10 minutes to go put myself together. So stating those things of what I need instead of telling the person what they're doing wrong, of just saying, this is what I need to happen, and this is the way I feel, either when that doesn't happen, or this is the way I feel when those things don't get done. So that's just a little brief thing on nonviolent communication. And my suggestion would be to start thinking those things, maybe do a little research yourself, and then set a goal of when you are maybe going to clean up toys or have dinner or whatever it is that you and your family really struggles with. Before you go into that telling our kids what to do or whatever it is, think about how we want to stay calm, go into the environment with a calm demeanor as best we can, and then try to stay in that. And when we get fought against, try as best we can to stay connected within ourselves so we can then spread that to those around us. So I'm not always perfect at it, and I hope this can help in any little way. Let's place our hands together and let's honor ourselves, each other, and this practice. Namaste.